Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Sassy Panda's feedback video for 33 Immortals. We last left off because we got the Apple error, but we were talking about daily quest. And I was saying how there should be 3 daily quests a day, and if you miss a day, and when you come back, then there will be a scroll bar right here, and you just click on it, and scrolls over and boom, there's your other 3 quests. So you don't have to have FOMO, you don't have to worry about missing a day or a quest, and you don't have to stress over there only being 1 quest a day, which is absolutely brutal, especially for the quest chest. The quest chest, I've completed it, and it quite literally just gives you 1 Paragon, 100 Eternal Shards, and then a what seems to be a a cosmetic that's either epic, which is purple, or higher rarity. I got the epic staff. I've seen someone get the legendary pets. So to me, it just seems like it gives you the highest rarity of a random cosmetic that you have yet to have. And if you've collected all of the cosmetics prior to opening the chest, then the chest quite literally just gives you one, excuse me, 1 Paragon and 100 Eternal Shards. That is hardly worth your 7-day investment, and it's also a slap in the face. But if you have 3 quests a day, then you can knock out a quest chest every 2 days. And so you're knocking out a quest chest 3 times before the 7-day week. So I think that's pretty groovy, you know. I feel like people are going to enjoy that a lot more than what it is currently, where it's 1 a day, especially now that you've changed the weapon requirements to go from, oh, complete a quest with a weapon, with a specific weapon, to complete 1 daily quest. Or no, I'm sorry, complete 3 daily quests. Well, if you're only getting 1 daily quest a day, that inherently means you have to wait 3 days to finish that. And in my opinion, that's a whole lot worse than rolling. I would rather re-roll than do that, which is why you should make it to where we have 3 daily quests a day. So much easier, so much more efficient, less hassle, less headache. All right, moving on. I wrote about whenever you complete an ascension, right? Complete a successful ascension, the possibility. Now, when I say possibility, I don't mean the possibility of a shrine spawning. I mean the possibility of y'all incorporating this method, which is that whenever you successfully finish an ascension gauntlet, that a shrine should pop up that allows you to spend any bones that you have on either a healing or resurrecting people, or cleansing the shatter from their soul, or spending dust on level ups. Originally I wasn't even going to suggest this because that kind of goes against y'all's whole difficulty theme, which is where you plunge into the fiery depths of hell, the inferno, and you go from the depths of hell all the way to Lucifer, through the series of gauntlets that you have to complete, which are the ascensions, into Lucifer's domain, and you defeat Lucifer. And you were doing all of that with 100 health. and however much health that you got from your relics and your level ups. But basically, you were having to do the whole thing in one run, like a true roguelike. Even though this is, well, I want to say it's more oriented than towards raiding, but it's a raiding roguelike, if you will. And so I was content. I play a lot of roguelikes, so I was like, all right, just got to get good. Plus, it makes sense. You you start from the bottom and get to the top, as they say. But now you've kind of come out and made things easier, and that's to say I'm not grateful. I think it's pretty fascinating. I think it's actually a very interesting spin that y'all have done, where now you get bonus stats from completing fates or fates from feats, and you get bonus stats from your weapons. And I just noticed my stats actually say elite 1337. That's pretty elite. That is pretty elite. But that being said, you can get a bonus stats from your weapons and from doing the feats and from your perks. And that definitely makes things easier. Like, for example, we're going to put on the sword. Now I have 13 vitality. I'm going in there with 300 health. That's 3 times as much health than I did, or that any of us did, when we were originally playing this, which I think is massive. It's epic. It's awesome. I love it. But that being said, now in your most recent patch, you also talk about how parties can resurrect each other, and you can get rid of your shatter at the soul shrine. And now if you're in a party and your party mates die and you're not able to go revive them because the holy flood is now desecrating the land and the ascension platforms are the only safe spot, well, worry not, because if you successfully ascend, then your dead party mates are automatically getting revived, and they're coming with you in the name and spirit of camaraderie. So you've kind of reduced a lot of elements of the difficulty that was originally set in place, which is why now I think a suggestion of, hey, once you complete the ascension, these shrines should spawn. Now I don't find such a suggestion to be quite audacious, if you will. So I think that'd be pretty nifty, and I definitely know a lot of people would appreciate that. That being said, there have been numerous times where I have been running around leveling up, collecting treasure chests, and I have an excess of keys, or I'll be like, oh, I've got an excess of bones. I'll go ahead and buy a key so that I have it, and then I will realize we're already at 10 out of 12 dungeons completed, and the remaining 2 dungeons are already full and being completed as we speak. And it's like, oh, well, that was a waste of my bones, and I have no need for these keys now. So when the ascension completes, and if you go with the shrine idea, or even if you don't, I still think once you complete an ascension, that any excess keys that you have should automatically be converted back into bones at a 1-to-1 ratio. So if it's 100 bones to buy a key, you get 100 bones back. Maybe you found some keys in a treasure chest. Well, now that's 100 bones converted into your inventory. I think that would be a massive quality of life. That'd be a huge change, and I would really like to see that happen. Moving on, we're going to talk more about weapons and feats, more specifically weapon feats. Currently, as it is, you would have to equip a weapon, go in and do a run or a partial run, and then either complete that run, fail it, quit out, and then when you come back, that you'll get a notification saying that you've unlocked this weapon feat, and all the progress that you just did is not retroactive. It was all for naught. So now you got to do everything all over again, which prompts people to go in, equip their new weapon, go in and do the bare minimum, and then quit out so that it immediately unlocks, and then go do an actual run so that they're not wasting any efforts or time or what have you. Instead, that should be changed to where the moment that you equip a weapon, a dialogue spawns of something of the matter of like, oh, taken a fancy to whatever weapon you picked. You know, so like let's say we pick the bow. You know, whether it be Beatrice or Virgil here, someone, they'll make the comment of like, oh, taking a fancy to the bow, have we? Well, there's a little something to encourage your journey. And then when you finish the dialogue, the feat unlocks. And that way it's unlocked immediately. You can go in and get started. None of this, oh, let me go in, quit out, and then unlock it and then go back in nonsense. That's shitty, terrible gameplay. On that same note, feats should be retroactive. The whole notion of, like I just said, right? You know, let's say you do the sword, you go in, you do all this. Let's say you do a full run, get 8 out of 8 relics, slay a whole bunch of monsters, level up, do a lot of co-strikes, kill Lucifer. You come back and it's like, hey, congratulations, you unlocked the feat. And you go look at it and it's requiring all of the things that you just did and completed in your previous run because it's not retroactive. The feats should be retroactive. Here's another perfect example. I've already completed the quest chest for last week. But if we go to daily quest, you'll see that it says complete 2 of these. This should already be 1 of 2, but it's not. It is 0 of 2, which means I would have to do 3 weeks of quest to get this. That's painful. The quest should be the feats should be retroactive. They need to be retroactive. Otherwise, people are going to get real salty about all the wasted time and the silly nonsense. The wardrobe, the only reason the wardrobes are technically retroactive is because when you unlock it, you can immediately go down and talk to Karen, and the system will immediately count how many you've got and register it and then advance you as it sees fit. But everything else is not retroactive, but it needs to be. Definitely needs to be. Desperately needs to be. Imperatively. Moving on. Let's talk about pets. Before we even get onto that, we're going to detour and talk about this little guy right here. I love him. I think he's great. But he is lacking flair. He's lacking intensity. For a hellhound, he's very basic, and he's just mediocre. And you'll understand what I mean when I show you this cat, because I also have the legendary cat. Now, look at this cat. Look how the cat shines luminescently. Shines luminescently. That's redundant. Anyway, they are grossly incandescent. This would obviously be Solaire's cat if he had one. Look how ethereal the cat looks, right? They shine with heaven's radiance. Like, look at that. Look at that. Look how shiny and pristine she is. Look how she just glows. Ever such a glowy cat. Meanwhile, the dog, which is a hellhound, is not. It's not glowy. It's nothing. What should be done for this diabolical little boy, or I should say this, diabolically good boy, is that he should have some flames projecting from him. He should have a fiery aura. He should have the infernos themselves incorporating his every step, his every walk. You know, he should be just exuding devilish aura. So looking forward to that change happening, because right now he's pretty mediocre. He's pretty basic. He's definitely not legendary quality. Legendary quality would mean that he's got a lot more going on. And I would like for him to have a lot more going on, you know? But now back onto the original point I was going to make about pets is that I think pets should run around and collect your loot. They should collect your dust and, you know, any currency like gemstones that drop, or any cosmetic tokens that drop. But if you feel that is too much, like any tokens that drop, he should pick up. I think anything that drops, he should be able to pick up. If you feel like that's too much, then at the very least, the pets should go around and collect the dust. Because what if you're killing something, like you've tagged something, and then it wanders all the way off here, and then it gets killed off screen, and you don't even know about it? Well, you just lost all that dust, you know, all that XP. But your good boy or good kitty cat can roam off and collect it for you. What if, that's another thing, or what if some loot drops? What if a token drops? You know, or a cosmetic, a token of any kind, whether it be a perk, a cosmetic, a weapon. Heaven forbid it be a weapon mastery that drops off screen and you don't even know about it, you know. But your pal and compatriot can go and collect it. I think that's super important. And you know, if you want a way to, I guess, to act as a currency sink, then sure, you can level him up, and as you level up your pet, their radius grows and they're able to pick up other things. You know, let's say they start out picking up dust, you know. As they level up, they are able to pick up more things, or maybe they're inherently able to pick up things, all the things, but as you level them up, their radius for picking up things grows, if you wanted to go that route. While we're on that topic, we've actually reached the end of the first page, believe it or not. Excuse me. And with that being said, the next topic is actually about the dust. I think there should be a dust overflow system. And what I mean by that is, I'll go show you. So check it out. Look here. This is our original vial. But then look at the spacing in between the spikes, and then look at these vials right here. Nothing is more disappointing, more annoying, or melancholic, or what have you, than having a full bar, and then the rest of the XP is just going to waste because you're not able to pick it up. It's just wasted. And this happens all the time, you know, especially if you have the double XP perk, like Watch, I will kill all of these, and I will level up pretty fast off of it. I'm already halfway. Three-fourths. Alright, if I kill one more, I will level up. And that's all fine and dandy for right now, because I'm by myself. I can control my XP gain. But there are, oftentimes where you will spawn with a group of others, where you'll come in here with a party, or, let's say let's say you cleared out all these mobs, because you want this chest. And now it puts you at 80 to 90% full. and you really want that level, but at the same time, you also really want to do a dungeon before it fills up, because you need relics, right? You want relics, and so now you're put into a predicament where you're forced to choose between, do I give up the level or do I give up the relics? And 9 out of 10 times, you're going to give up the level. Look at this, see, perfect, right? I'm at like 80% of a level, if not 3/4. And now I have to choose, do I want to give up the level or do I want to give up the dungeon? Now, if I spend the time to farm this out, obviously the dungeon's going to fill up. Look, that one's already filled up. That one's going to fill up. And if I choose to give up the level, then I know that if I go in the dungeon, I will instantly hit this. With how much XP the mobs in dungeons give, plus not to mention the mob density, like every dungeon is easily a level, if not a level and a half. But because there's no overflow mechanic, you're wasting a lot of XP, and that just feels awful. So what I propose, look, you don't even have to make any additional assets for it. You already got it all right here. If you wanted to, here's what you do. You've got your main vial right here. Now, in terms of the perk that says you do 25% damage when your dust is full, you can still achieve that. But I'll come back to that, right? As I was saying, I was loaded up the wrong thing there. As I was saying, this is your main vial, and then these can count as your additional overflow vials. And if you really wanted to, this ring right here, this space, you can count that as another reserve. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can store 5 levels before you are truly at dust capacity. But otherwise, if you didn't want to utilize this inner ring right here, then you would just have 1, 2, 3, 4. You'd have 4 levels that you could store at capacity before you need to level up. And like I said, as I was saying, for the perk that let's see if I can stun this guy. Probably not. No. As for the perk that gives you 25% damage increase when your dust is full, that can still work as intended, but instead of it needing to have all 4 or 5 levels, instead it would just go based off of the first level, the initial level, the main vial right here, which is right here, or I guess you could say the main circle, and then these would be your vials. But either way, it would just go off of the main one. So if the main circle is filled, so as long as you've got one level in your thing here, then you're gonna have max capacity in terms of that perk. but you'll still be able to, get the overflow. I think that's super needed, super important. Out of all the feedback I'm going to provide here, if you only picked one, it would be that one. The game desperately needs a dust overflow feature because, like I said, nothing is more agonizing than having to choose between, oh, well, do I want relics, or do I want leveling up? And even if you choose to get no relics throughout the whole game, then you're still going to be in a predicament because you'll probably be going with a party where you're eventually going to have to peel off to go spend all of this dust, which means your party members are still going to stay there and they're going to be killing everything in sight, but you're not going to be there to get that dust. Even if you tag it, by the time you get back, it will probably have disappeared off of the ground, or it will just, you're not going to get credit for it at all to begin with. So having that overflow feature allows you to not have to break off from the party or have to worry about, oh man, I'm wasting a fuck ton of XP right now because I forgot to go visit a dust shrine and level up, or I was only at, or I was at 80 or 90% of a level and I came in here, and so again, having an overflow feature would be super amazing. Super amazing. Moving on, let's see where else I have here. Oh yeah, perfect. My next point talks about what I'm doing right now, which is where, look, we're at 4 out of 12, and these two are already full. So by the time they finish, we'll be at 6 out of 12. It'll be a new Wrath of God, and then, more dungeons will spawn. Well, before you know it, all 12 dungeons will be filled up. I still don't even have a key, and I barely got 26 bones, right? So I'm quite literally just running around leveling up. I don't really have any problems with that. I have double XP, and so I'm going to level up. In fact, sometimes I prefer to just run around and level up. It's easier to just get more stats, or maybe it's just more enjoyable to just run around, farm, kill stuff, get stats, and collect all the loot around the map, from pots to chests to maybe you're farming cosmetic tokens, or you're farming perk tokens, or weapon mastery, etc., etc. Right now, there's definitely something to be said for, like, oh, you can do that in dungeons, or you can, and that is true, you can do that in dungeons. And in fact, the drop rate, I'm positive, is increased while you're doing a torture chamber or doing an ascension battle. But there are 33 people here, and there are 12 chambers, and only 6 people are allowed to enter a chamber. And then when that chamber is done, then it's done for everybody. You know what I mean? And so, and people are going to be vicious about it. They're trying to get all their 8 perks and flesh out their build, or be the quote unquote carry. But another reason why I don't really worry about it is because I've come to understand that there are no carries in this game. It is in all essence a team game. You could go in there and have no fucking relics, or have just one gray relic, and let's say it's the 30% damage reduction. That's all you've got, but you've been leveling up and whatnot, and you can provide just as much support and meaningful damage as the guy who's maxed out with 8 out of 8 relics. So like I said, another reason why I don't really mind just walking around farming and doing what have you. But what I would like to see, and this already happens, but I would like to see it on a greater scale, is that if you opt to not do any dungeons, you just walk around killing stuff, you will eventually get relics out of chest, or let's say you do a boss chest that's on the map, which are protected by elite mobs. You know, if you kill them, they will drop relics. And if you do the Ascension and kill those mobs and kill those elite mobs, they will also drop relics. But they only ever drop common relics, which is gray quality. They don't ever drop anything higher than common quality. And you will rarely get a relic from a boss chest, which is the chest that are shackled to elite mobs, right? So what I propose is that you make it much more accessible for people to ascertain relics out in the wild, whether it be, you know, let's say you can have a chance of getting gray relics from breaking pots, or you have a chance of getting, you know, gray or blue or even maybe purple quality, which is, you know, common, rare, and epic quality relics out of the normal chest that you find. Or if you complete a boss chest, then you're guaranteed to get anywhere between a rare to an epic quality relic. You know, I think there's there's a lot of room to grow there, and I think that would be a massive quality of change too, because people want relics too. Relics are build defining, you know. They're gonna want some kind of way to be able to flesh out their own builds, but also feel like they're contributing, right? And so by having a meaningful way to ascertain relics of quality, of desired quality and what have you outside of torture chambers is going to be pretty massive. It's going to be pretty huge. And you know, and just see, look at this. Just by roaming around, I've already maxed out my attack. And now I'm going to start maxing out, I don't know, maybe my health or my empathy, probably. Whereas the people that have been rushing relics or dungeons this whole time, I know for a fact they are nowhere near my level. They maybe have 1 or 2 levels. Nice. Heal. And but the trade-off is that, you know, they have hella relics while I have actually literally no relics, you know? And so again, I think that should change. Be super wicked if I could get relics of desired quality outside of dungeons. Be super wicked. Also, I just opened a boss chest. I think boss chest should guarantee you a key drop. They should have keys. Because there are plenty of times where I've done boss chest and I expect to get a key and I end up with nothing. And I'm like, what? Like, I totally expect these normal chests to be like a 50-50. Either it's going to have a key or it's not going to be a key. And that's fine. I've accepted that. But I'm always bamboozled when I have spent a lengthy amount of time killing boss chests or clearing out a boss chest and I don't even get a key for my efforts, because the amount of time it takes to kill a map boss guarding a chest, that's already at least ooh, come back there, guy. Come back, come back. Why are you running from me? Mother, bro. Let's see if I can get you in time. Nice. But now he's probably just going to stand there. Or maybe he's just happy. Either way. Either way. Like I said, the... One more for good measure. But as I was saying, boss chess, right? Like I expect, we'll go with empathy. I expect a key because the amount of time it takes, you know, is at least one, sometimes two chambers worth. And it's like, man, I just fought this boss, spent all this time, didn't even get a key. Rip. Now, granted, you're gonna get a lot of bones, and you can just buy a key, but at the same time, I'd rather have the bones and the key, you know, because maybe then I can spend those bones on a second key, or I can spend them on healing myself or healing my teammates, because I definitely walk around with the bone healing shrine, if that wasn't obvious from me healing myself and others just now. Now let's see where I'm at. Pretty close to this side. Well, there's only one person coming down here. It's a good amount. We'll go ahead and buy and see, here's exactly what I was talking about earlier, right? I've got 2 keys. I'm not going to use them. All the dungeons are done. They've already been fleshed out. Oh, there's no one even down here. Whatever, I'll go to this one. Bro, yo, fucking click on the fucking arrows. Jesus Christ. This is what I'm talking about. This Burn Witch just doing all this stuff. And these guys are just too fucking afraid to just, like, I just took all that damage for them and it was all for naught. Oh wow, and I got gypped out of my shield. Whack. But rip, taking all the damage. And see, like, look at all this dust, and I can't even get it because it's just sitting in all that fiery death. That's where, you know, having my puppy dog who could pick up all that dust would be super wicked. Because then I wouldn't have to worry about it. Bro, what the fuck? I didn't even realize I've gone from... Wow, that's infuriating. I'm playing like absolute dog shit. I came here with 200 health and now I'm down to fucking 13 health. What a clown show. Look at that gray relic for my efforts. Oh, luckily there's shrunken heart, so, but still, like, even, what if there wasn't a shrunken heart? I'd be super annoyed. I'm not even gonna waste my time running out there. I don't have this, don't have the, I mean, I guess mended heart. Whatever, not doing it. But anyway, next on that list, I'll cover that when we get out of here. Nifty Nimbus. Let's see what else is on my list that I can talk about in the meantime. Yeah, we can talk about the super dungeon notification and buffering. So I was originally very adamant on thinking how there needs to be a map-wide announcement saying the super dungeon has been found, and then when you open the map, that it will show the super dungeon, but it will have a red glow instead of a. Am I getting debated by Shield? I am. Anyway, it will have a red glow as opposed to a normal yellow glow that the normal ones have. Someone made, and by someone I mean Iris, the dragon person, they made a pretty compelling counter argument, which is that if there is a map-wide announcement, and then there's, you know, it shows you where on the map, then that's going to prompt a bunch of newbies to rush to the dungeon, and they're all going to die. You're going to lose those people, and you're going to lose the dungeon. And I was like, oh man, that's a great point. You obviously don't want that, right? That's a waste. Thus, leaving the more experienced people to get into it, as it should be. But if you don't put some kind of announcement saying that it's been found, again, that's where the chat bubbles and stuff would be pretty useful. But more importantly is that if you don't put in some kind of announcement, then there needs to be a buffer window for when people are in the super dungeon and they're completing it. And because there's no announcement, then people aren't going to know that you're doing it, and so they're just going to keep rushing dungeons as they always do. And so it's going to be a rush against the clock where the 12th dungeon is being completed as you're trying to complete the super dungeon. And there are going to be times where where that 12th dungeon is going to be completed before you complete yours. And then the Holy Flood is going to start to encompass your dungeon, and you're going to have to abandon ship, unfortunately. That's super unfortunate. Definitely witnessed that happen a lot of times. I've even been in a super dungeon where we were literally about to complete it, and then the Holy Flood rushed in, and everyone jumped ship because they were so scared of the Holy Flood, whereas me and my duo partner literally stood there and we said, fuck it, we're not worried about the flood. And we took the damage from the flood to ensure that the dungeon not only got completed, but then we sat there and opened those chests. We almost died for it, but it was super worth. We got some good stuff. I fucked up that dodge, but whatever. Oh damn! Look at these. Look at this. 4 fucking hearts. 2 of these, bro. This is 40% damage reduction right there. And then this is 4. It was 4. So 4 times 8. That's 32, bro. That's 62% damage reduction. But people are over here. They're not they're not paying attention to this shit. They don't even fucking notice this, just like they don't even fucking notice that. And so they don't even realize that it's way more advantageous to just stay grouped up than to spread away. Oh, damn, we already killed that thing. Fucking beast mode, bro. But anyway, it's so much more, it's light years way more advantageous to stay grouped up than it is to spread out. Because if you spread out, then you ruin the, or you get rid of that opportunity to, or you get rid of all that damage reduction opportunity. And it's just like let's say the boss is going to hit you, he's going to do that ground pound, that usually does like 20-25 damage. If you have 60% damage reduction, then, well, if it's 20 damage, then that's 14 damage reduction. Or I'm sorry, that's 12 damage reduction. You're going to take 8 whopping damage. That is nothing. But if everyone scatters away like roaches, then yeah, you're going to take the full amount. And that's where it starts to really hurt. But people, they don't really pay attention. They're not looking at that. But that's for another video. That's for a tips video that I'll make. That will likely be way shorter than this because we're on part 2 and it's 46 minutes already. But if you're diligent devs, you'll listen to this. Also, you're gonna get to see this bug that I constantly deal with, which that's another thing for another time. I will make a little video, short clip on that, and submit it via email for y'all. Reroll this. Reroll that again. I'm not gonna steal those. Good enough for me. But as I was saying with the super dungeon, there needs to be some kind of buffering. There needs to be some lines of code that basically check if people are doing the super dungeon. And let's say people are doing the super dungeon simultaneously while people are finishing the 12th dungeon, then a script will check to see if the super dungeon is currently being engaged or I guess completed. And if it is engaged, then a buffer will take place. And then once the dungeon is completed, the script will run itself again. So you obviously have to set the script to run every couple of seconds, or maybe every 10 seconds or so, to check, is the dungeon still active? Is it still being completed? If yes, okay, then delay the holy flood. Is the super dungeon completed? Yes. Are people inside looting chests? Yes. Okay. Delay. And then once they're all out and the dungeon's closed, it'll be like, is the dungeon finished? Is it closed? Or maybe there'll be a script to where when the dungeon closes, then it's engages the system and it activates the holy flood. And then you don't have to worry about trying to beat the clock of doing the super dungeon, or having to abandon midway, waste all that loot and that legendary relic. As for the next thing in that same veil, the attack stat feels really underwhelming. As a sword main, I did stack attack constantly. I would just go full send. I'd have like the attack perk and I would just pump all of the attack, and it just felt bad, felt useless, didn't feel meaningful in any way, shape, or form. And so I stopped, and instead I just started pumping full vitality. After all, the sword at level 10 gives you plus 10 vitality, so might as well just full send on that vitality, And ever since I started ever since I started doing that, I've had a much more enjoyable time, just full sending on vitality. You get fat amounts of health, and then you get that relic that heals you 1%, and it's great. And then you stack other things, and it's so much more enjoyable to stack vitality, and it feels so much more potent and meaningful than stacking attack does. Therefore, attack either needs to be buffed, in my opinion, or you have it set up, which you probably could already have it set up like this, and it's just one of those hidden mechanics where each weapon has a different scale modifier. Like, for example, you could have it set to where the sword damage, or just the sword scales better off of vitality than it does with the attack stats, in the similar vein that, if you're playing the bow, then it's going to scale better with attack versus vitality, and daggers as well. If you have the attack stat, if you're stacking attack, it's just going to scale better overall. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what I'm speculating already happens. But either way, stacking attack as a sword main is just trash. It's not worth taking over vitality or empathy. If I want to do big numbers, if I want to smash face, then I will just go collect relics that increase my damage by a percentage, and then I'll get exposed and stack my crit up. Otherwise, stacking attacks is useless. So underwhelming. Let's see, while we're on the topic of perks and whatnot, my other feedback is that Merciful Contemplation is utterly useless, whether it's at rank 1 or rank 5, completely garbage, not necessary. You deal 125% damage to monsters who have captured another player. Okay, useless. Doesn't happen. If it does happen, you break them out, and 2, maybe 3 hits, if even that. That is not worth taking over any of these, or honestly, it's not worth taking over any of these perks. I will never take it. No one should ever take it. It's useless. It's just terrible. Like again, you're sacrificing so much by taking it over something else. On top of that, it only affects captured monsters, or rather captured. It only affects monsters who have captured a player's soul, and that implies that the player has to die. Bro, people aren't dying. If they are dying, they're going to get broken out super fast. And then as skill levels get higher and higher, or if you're playing in private groups or private lobbies, the skill level is so high, people are not dying. If you're playing with the people who are 2 and 4 manning Adam and Eve, people aren't dying. It's a useless perk. It's useless talent. It needs to be completely reworked. And in that same vein, Eagle Talent, completely useless. Your dash causes a blast at your starting position. Okay. Whoop-de-doo. So great. Not. Like, I don't even know how monumental the damage is because I always reroll it. It's terrible. Like, as a sword main, you're not really dodging away. You're going to be parrying. As a dagger player, it's not worth taking over something else that you could have out of any of these. It's not worth taking out over as a sloth player. It's definitely not worth taking over anything. And as a bow user, it's just the worst perk out of all of them. It's utter garbage. You're never going to use it. It needs to be reworked. I have some suggestions on that. Either rework it to where you dash farther instead of causing a blast, you dash farther away, or you have greater iframes, or it grants you a double dash, or it grants you a damage buff after dashing. all of those options are significantly better than you cause a blast at your starting position of your dash. Terrible. While we're here looking at relics, I have a question about the Emerald of Princes. No one ever really uses this. They all think it's terrible and they re-roll it. And I had this thought when I was writing this feedback that it says your co-strike counter never cannot drop below 10. So does that mean, like, let's say you've got a co-strike of 300 and it runs out, it's back to 0. If you had this, does this remove the timer? And so now it starts counting down by 1 until it reaches 10? Or does it just drop from 300 to 10? Because if it drops from 300 to 10, then it's as useless as everyone makes it out to be, and as useless as it reads. But if it instead just starts counting down your co-strikes by 1 until it reaches 10, then that's different. That's actually worthwhile. That's pretty fucking good. But I don't know if it does that because I don't use it. When I get it, I just re-roll it. So some further elaboration in the description would be great. Let's see here. We've only got a couple more things on this list, actually. Let me go through them real quick. Let's see here. Okay, one of them I have, since we're on this screen, is the improved wish system. As you have it currently set up, you can wish for a relic, and it says wishing for relic significantly increases your chances to find it. And then when you wish for a relic, it just says resets after 1 run, and you can do this up to 3 times. And so, you know what, fuck it. Let's do it on this. That's interesting. I've noticed that whenever you wish that this right here, this quotation, singular quotation in white, will alternate from being there and not being there whenever you do multiple wishes. So I don't know if that's some kind of indication of how potent it is, or if that's just a typo and that's been overlooked. But whenever you wish for something, obviously you can wish up to a max of 3 times, and these words don't change, but this changes, right? So you basically get 1 per run. But what I would like to see instead is that, which is what I thought was originally going to happen, is that when you wish, you are increasing the chances of finding it. So let's say you wish for it first time, then it's your wish significantly increases, right? Or let's just say your wish increases the chance of finding us, and then you wish for it a second time, and it's like, oh well, now your wish is greatly increased, or your chance of finding it is greatly increased, and then you wish a third time, and it's like, oh, it's significantly increased, and that significant increase could be like, let's say, 75% chance of finding it. I would think I'd rather have a scaling guarantee versus just a static, or rather, a scaling and or dynamic chance of getting the perk. I mean, not the perk, the relic, versus a static, and the only thing that changes is, oh well, you don't have to buy it again after until after 3 runs. So I think you could definitely set that up in a sense to where you can spend dust to increase the chance that you will find it. But then there will also be an alternative, another button that you can press that will spin dust to prolong how many runs you get it for. I think that will be a pretty nice quality of life. Let's talk about cosmetics. I wanted to talk about legendary weapon cosmetics because as of now there are only epic weapon cosmetics, and of course the full game isn't out, so I'm sure there will be epic cloaks and epic halos and epic weapons, just like there's legendary dogs. I just said epic cloaks and halos and weapons when I meant to say legendary. I'm sure there'll be legendary cloaks, halos, and weapons, right? I'm sure there will even be legendary emotes. So I'm definitely looking forward to all of that. But that being said, I would hope that the legendary weapons are actually legendary, like they're worthy of the legendary quality, because the epic weapons are cool until you kind of find out that they all share the same theme, which is that basically they're abyss weapons essentially. And ever since I've started this game, I have thought Beatrice's sword is fucking wicked. Like, it just looks so fucking dope. So that, if that was a legendary sword cosmetic, I'd be fucking all over that. Now, whether that's a legendary cosmetic that actually drops, like let's say it drops out of Paradise, fucking cool. Or maybe it's a legendary cosmetic that you have to spend money on, like maybe say, $3 to $5 in that ballpark range, then still, fuck yeah, I'm all about it. I'm gonna fucking spend that money to get something that looks dope as fuck as this, or I'm gonna be fucking, gunning for Paradise because this weapon is cool as fuck looking. And that's just the sword. Imagine what the bow or any of the other 8 weapons would look like, or in this case 7 weapons would look like. So that'd be wicked. That'd be awesome. I'd also like to see some cosmetics or some different models that you can unlock for your character guy, because the current model, it works, but I would like to be able to alter the model itself. Excuse me. I would just like to have different models that I can choose between. Whether you got to buy them through microtransactions or get them by doing various feats or hard raids. I'd like to see it. I think that would be great. Next on the list is that under the compendium, under characteristics, there should be an entry that's called bonus stats, and then when you click on it, it's equivalent to clicking on characteristics, right? Where it says, how it basically explains what attack, vitality, and empathy does. Well, in this case, it would say bonus stats, and when you clicked on it, it would show you your accumulation of all the bonus stats that you have collected from your feats, and it would also explain what they do. That's important. I think that's pretty important quality of life there. The next thing on my list actually refers to the bone lizard that y'all saw me fight earlier that obviously got away, Lucido, and that is just that I would appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone else would appreciate it, if Lucido was able to be staggered more. For example, obviously Lucido is this game's treasure goblin, but as you know, treasure goblins, they don't just immediately disappear after like one attempt at escaping, and they definitely get staggered or interrupted just from auto attacks. So Granted, Lucido, you can stun them and break them out of their thing, but not all these weapons can stagger or stun so easily, and by the time you are about to get a stun off, it's already running away, or it's it's gone. So being able to stagger it more with just auto attacks would be a great improvement, a great quality of life. I'd like to see that happen. Next on the list is we're going to talk about the Sloth Staff. Um, what I was talking about earlier with, let me just get rid of this, is earlier when I was talking about this awesome setup, right, and how much I really enjoy that. I think there needs to be an internal buffer between this and the right click, the special ability, right, which is the torpor, because I'm going to be passively gaining torpor, but also I'm going to be gaining it from just shooting out this massive epic barrage of spirit balls or spirit bombs. But I'm also going to want to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm full torpor now, I want to use that, and then immediately switch back. But as you see, it takes a while for this to ramp up. You got to be still, you can't move around with it, and if you let go and then try, it just automatically restarts. So I would like for there to be an internal buffer where if you've got it at max capacity, like it's just really ramping and going out, but you got to dodge, then you can dodge, and if you immediately go back into it, then it's still at full capacity. Or let's say you're at full capacity and you want to throw out your torpor wave and then immediately go to get some CC and then go back into it, as long as you immediately, like, let's say there's like a buffer of 1 second, if not like 2 seconds, as long as you go back to spamming it within that buffer range, then you don't lose your full stack. Because having to like dodge around and then you're constantly resetting, so you're never able to get the full charge off, it's just painful. Same with, oh, I want to use my torpor, slow them down. Oh, well, it's gonna, again, it's just like what I was saying earlier about the XP, the dust overflow, and choosing between, well, do I want to give up a level or do I want to give up some relics? It's like, well, do I want to give up my spam, my barrage of spirit bombs, or do I want to get some CC off? And if that's the case, then I often find myself opting to just keep spamming spirit bombs instead of using, weaving in torpor waves, because that's a DPS loss. So having an internal buffer, I think, would be great for that. Next on my list here is I see this fishing dock, and it's very serene, but it also makes me think about fishing. And so if y'all incorporated fishing, I think that would be pretty humorous. And since it's a starry lake or a starry river, it's obviously the river Styx, but it's reflecting the stars, so it's a starry river, right? If if you could fish in it, I think that'd be super fun and super chill. And you can just fish up various things from, like, some stardust or any of the currencies, really, right? Like some stardust or some eternal shards. Maybe if you're super lucky, or rather you're lucky, you'll fish up a paragon. And, if you're really diligent about it, or maybe just super lucky, you'll even fish up some cosmetic token. And with that being said, if you have fishing incorporated, you can even create a fishing feat and play off of that. I'm sure that would be fun. Next on the list is that I see all of these wandering souls. They're all over the map, right? They all flow in from here, they come up around here, go in here. They're basically all going to this one central location. And I see them, and I wish that they were interactable. You know what I mean? Like it would really make this whole map really come alive, make this game be more lively if they were interactable. And the thought that I had was that randomly there'd be one of these that's just wandering around, you know, and it's got a quest icon, like you see this this symbol right here above the quest board, but instead it would be on one of these wandering souls, and you would be able to see it on the map and be like, oh shit, there's a wandering soul like right over here that's got a quest. And so you run down and go talk to it, and it would say something like, where did I write it? Yeah, it'd say something like, my soul yearns for glory, but alas, I am too weak to seek out said glory, or I'm too weak to accomplish it my own. And then they give you a quest for glory, like maybe you gotta fight, go clear a dungeon, or clear an ascension, or even kill Lucifer, and basically you know ascertain glory for them, like they are living vicariously through you, or they're experiencing the glory that they so desperately yearn for through you vicariously. And as a result, they give you a quest reward, obviously, which would be, you know, anywhere between, some stardust or eternal shards, or paragon points, or even maybe a cosmetic token. I think that would be pretty enjoyable. It would really make this feel much more lively, and it's just another nifty little way to earn currency or get tokens. You can also turn it into a feat called the Wandering Soul feat, and complete X amount of quest or request from the Wandering Souls, and get shattering resistance, or get other things, get empathy. Oh, get empathy, because you're being empathetic to their plight. And there's so much there's so much that you could do, you know moving on. Let's see here. It seems I only have 2 things left on my feedback list of my 2.5 pages that I wrote here, and the second to the last one is about loadouts. I think being able to set up perk loadouts would be pretty nifty, weapon and/or perk loadouts, maybe even wish loadouts. You just hit one button and it just wishes for all the perks that you've already set on your loadout. It'd be pretty nifty. And then lastly, excuse me, again, under characteristics, there would be, or maybe even under combat, either characteristics or combat, there'd be a compendium insert article entry explaining what the different status effects do. So obviously marked, exposed, weakness, etc. And with that, that is the end of my feedback video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. For those that, obviously sat through the whole thing, which is going to be about 2 hours long based off of this, feel free to watch this at 2 times speed, which also I'm sure you have heard all of my sniffles through this. I have, obviously I've got, if it wasn't obvious, I've got Tourette's in that form. So sorry if my sniffles got to you, but that's such is life, right? It'd be like that. But either way, I digress. Thanks for listening to my video, and I hope you're able to incorporate any of my feedback. That'd be super awesome. I think a lot of it is pretty pretty in depth, and I think honestly it's all worth inputting. But either way, I'm appreciative of this game. I'm appreciative of y'all's time, and again, thanks for hearing me out. And I hope you'll have a wonderful time in the remaining beta until it ends on the 14th, so Valentine's Day, and you know, have even more fun when early access and full release comes out. That said, take care. See you later.